Now let's look at some of the context, not all, but just some. So the event is 9/11. Everyone is familiar with the Twin Towers and the plane crash, and there were four planes, and one of them hit the Pentagon as well, and just one where the passengers wrestled with the hijackers and had that plane crash into a field. It might just have been targeted at White House or something equally important. And there's a nice movie to be watched on how they did what they did in that tremendous act of bravery and courage. The Patriot Act is a direct fallout of 9/11. Okay, and the purpose of the US Patriot Act is to deter and punish terrorist acts in the US and around the world, to enhance law enforcement, investigatory tools, and the rest of it, okay, which is money laundering, financing of terrorism, criminal abuse of the financial system, and it is the empowering legislation which makes it possible for the US government to require every financial institution to take on this responsibility of controlling and acting against terrorists, not allowing them to use the financial system. There are reporting obligations. There's a whole bunch of things over there. That's a different program. But yeah, that's where it originates from. And this becomes the long arm of the US law because it enables the US to do anything around the world. There are two ways specific to the financial sector that the long arm of the US law works. One, if it is a US bank operating anywhere in the world, it needs to comply with this. Two, if it is a bank from anywhere in the world that has a US presence and it fails to comply with US sanctions or the Patriot Act anywhere else in the world, there are cases, and we shall examine them, where the USA will catch the entity, which could just be a single branch in the US, and using that as jurisdiction, punish that bank for violations. Okay, so that is one interesting event and background to one of the laws. The other, very interesting, is the Magnitsky Law. Yeah. So Hermitage Capital Management is an American fund in Russia, and this happens plenty after 1991. Lots of economic enterprises that belong to the former Soviet Union or Russia end up in the hands of oligarchs, a few powerful people from government, from the KGB, from the security services apparatus, from the military, who were in the correct place at the correct time to be able to personalize assets of the state. And one such event in 2007 is Interior Ministry officials, which are part of the security apparatus, taking over three companies belonging to Hermitage, the US fund, and indeed all of their assets over time and at a hefty discount. So it's extortion to be asked to sell something which is worth a lot more for a lot less. That's one part of the extortion. The larger part of the extortion is making someone give up their property at all. Never mind at what price. Maybe the seller just doesn't want to give the property away. So it's one thing to be asked to give the property away. It's another thing to be asked to give it away at a ridiculous price. All of that happened. It was all coercion and extortion. And the staff as well as the CEO of Hermitage, Bill Browder, fled Russia. These are the two gentlemen that are part of this story from here. On the right is Sergey Magnitsky. He is Bill Browder's friend and a lawyer for Hermitage, who was investigating the corrupt actions of the government officials in taking over Hermitage. And he proceeded against them in Russia using legal means. And then the Russian state finds a pretext to arrest him. He was beaten in prison, denied visits, denied medical attention. He died in prison in 2009. he was just 37 years old when this human rights abuse happened. And then Bill Browder, to whom Sergey was a friend, decided to avenge his death, and he worked with Senator the great John McCain and Ben Browder to develop the Magnitsky Act to punish those responsible for his death. And the number of people that were involved directly or indirectly in Magnitsky's death were counted at 39. And then later, McCain and Cardin then later transformed this into the Global Magnitsky Act to punish people all over the world for human rights abuses. So the Global Magnitsky Act enables the US government to directly identify a case of human rights abuse and sanction the targeted entities and individuals for that abuse.